Most Americans are taught a clean story. 13 colonies, a revolution, westward expansion, 50 states. But that story skips something uncomfortable. At its peak, the United States controlled territories that stretched across oceans, continents, and cultures. Lands where millions lived under the American flag without citizenship. Places where American law applied, but American rights did not. Some of these territories were larger than modern U.S. states. Some held strategic power that reshaped wars, trade routes, and global politics. And some were quietly erased from memory once they became inconvenient. Here is the unsettling question. If these places were once essential to American power, why were they forgotten? Tonight, we are not talking about the states you know. We are talking about the American territories history prefers not to explain. And the deeper we go, the stranger the story becomes. Before we name the first territory, we need to clear up a misunderstanding. A U.S. territory was not just land waiting to become a state. That idea came later. Originally, territories were experiments, political testing grounds, strategic assets. Congress ruled them directly. Residents often had no vote. Rights depended on geography, not principle. This legal gray zone allowed the U.S. to expand fast while avoiding hard questions about equality, race, and empire. And nowhere was this contradiction clearer than the first territory Americans now barely remember. 1. Indian Territory, 1834 to 1907. Before Oklahoma existed, there was Indian Territory. This land was promised, then broken, then taken. In the early 1800s, the U.S. government forcibly relocated Native American nations from the southeast to land west of the Mississippi. The Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Chickasaw, and Seminole were told this territory would be theirs forever. It was not. Indian Territory was governed separately from the rest of the country. Federal law applied selectively. Native governments were allowed to exist, but only until white settlement followed. Once railroads arrived and oil was discovered, the promise collapsed. In 1907, Indian Territory was dissolved and merged into Oklahoma. Native sovereignty vanished overnight. The land remained, the memory did not. And this pattern repeats. America crosses the ocean. For most of its early life, the U.S. expanded west. Then suddenly it jumped across the sea. And that shift created America's most forgotten empire. 2. The Philippines Territory, 1898 to 1946. This was not a small territory. This was an entire nation. After defeating Spain in 1898, the United States took control of the Philippines, a chain of over 7,000 islands with millions of people. Filipinos expected independence. Instead, they got occupation. A brutal war followed. Over 200,000 civilians died. American troops fought guerrilla resistance for years. The Philippines became a testing ground for U.S. colonial rule. Schools were built, roads expanded, English spread. So did surveillance, military bases, and censorship. For nearly 50 years, the U.S. governed the Philippines without making it a state. Why? Because it was never meant to be one. After World War II, independence was granted quietly. No apology, no national reckoning. An empire folded, and America moved on. 3. The Panama Canal Zone Territory, 1903 to 1979. The Panama Canal Zone was not Panama. It was American soil, carved out by treaty, enforced by troops, and governed like a military colony. The canal shortened global shipping routes by thousands of miles. Whoever controlled it, controlled world trade. American workers lived in segregated towns. Local Panamanians lived under separate laws. The U.S. ran the police, courts, schools, and economy of the zone. For decades, Panamanians protested. For decades, Washington ignored them. Only in 1979 did control begin transferring back. Full sovereignty returned in 1999. Most Americans barely noticed. Now we move north, very far north. 4. Alaska Territory, 1912 to 1959. Before it was a state, Alaska was something else. It was a military buffer, a resource vault, a forgotten frontier. Purchased from Russia in 1867, Alaska was ignored for decades. Few Americans lived there. Congress barely invested. Then gold was found. Then oil. Then World War II. Suddenly, Alaska mattered. Japanese forces even occupied 2 Alaskan islands in 1942. The U.S. rushed infrastructure, airfields, and troops into the territory. Statehood followed not because Alaska was ready, but because it was necessary. Before that, it was ruled from afar. 5. Hawaii Territory, 1898 to 1959. Hawaii did not join the United States. It was overthrown. American businessmen backed a coup against Queen Liliuokalani. U.S. Marines landed. The Hawaiian monarchy fell. Hawaii became a territory without a vote of its people. Its sugar economy fueled American wealth. Its ports fueled American naval power. Statehood came later. Consent came never. Today, Hawaii is remembered as a vacation state. Its territorial past is rarely taught. 6. Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, 1947 to 1994. After World War II, the U.S. took control of Micronesia under a United Nations mandate. This territory included the Marshall Islands, Palau, and others. It was supposed to be temporary. Instead, it became a Cold War laboratory. The U.S. tested nuclear weapons in the Marshall Islands. Entire populations were displaced. Radiation effects lasted generations. Eventually, the territory dissolved into independent nations or compacts of free association. The damage remained. 7. Florida Territory, 1822 to 1845. Florida was once a borderland of conflict. Spanish rule, native resistance, American expansion. As a territory, Florida was militarized, unstable, and violent. The Seminole Wars were among the longest and costliest in U.S. history. By the time Florida became a state, much of its past had been erased. 8. Oregon Territory, 1848 to 1859. The Oregon Territory once stretched from California to Canada. It shaped the idea of manifest destiny. Settlers moved west believing the land was empty. It was not. Native nations were displaced, borders hardened, states formed. The territory disappeared into maps. The consequences remained. 9. Dakota Territory, 1861 to 1889. Dakota Territory was split into 2 states for political power, not population. More senators, more influence. Native treaties were broken, land was seized, boundaries were redrawn. The territory ceased to exist. The strategy succeeded. 10. Arizona Territory, 1863 to 1912. Arizona was governed as a distant outpost. Mining interests dominated politics. Native resistance was crushed. Mexican land claims were ignored. Statehood came once stability served Washington. Until then, the territory existed to extract value. These territories were not accidents. They were choices. They reveal how power works when accountability is optional. And here is the uncomfortable truth. America was once an empire, even if it never called itself one. The question is not whether these territories existed. The question is why we stopped talking about them, because forgotten history has a way of repeating itself. If this changed how you see American history, say so in the comments. Which territory surprised you most, and which story do you think should be taught but never is? Subscribe for more untold America history that was never meant to be remembered.